I'm
Nice.
comfortable teaching other stuff, like teaching nonprofit stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I love it.
Near and dear.
Yeah, it was awesome. They had great questions, but yeah, we were here at like 9:30 last night. We brought wine into the hotel.
Steve, we might have to push back the meet one-on-ones with Andrew by like half hour.
Oh, okay.
So,
Thank you.
I'll actually let Andrew know that.
The tables are back.
Yay.
I like the tables.
Yeah. Just sitting in a chair.
Yeah, you guys yesterday were in chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Sitting in
benefit-
chairs.
I know. First world problem.
Exactly. Unbelievable.
Oh, dear.
Quickly, we get so many.
Come on in, subscribers. Are you good with food?
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. So,
Unlimited supply of flavors.
Hi.
how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm Sean.
Hey, Sean and Megan. Nice to meet you.
What's your venture?
Keys lock.
Easy lock.
No.
Okay. What does that do?
It's a keyless lock that lets you manage access to your vacant property using a smartphone app.
Okay. So is it like Lockatron, or how does it compare to Is that like the question?
I guess it's a joke. Yes, we don't use Bluetooth or wireless.
Okay.
So the niche market is for typically vacant properties, vacation rentals that don't have wireless. And we chose not to go with Bluetooth just because there seems to be a host of issues that come along with that technology. So we kind of tried to dumb the technology down to be super efficient without having to use any of those connectivity.
So what is the transport?
It's actually light transmission of data. It's a flashing pattern of light on the screen of your phone. Yeah.
Who are we missing?
Yeah, David he's coming in right now.
And that's a crap day.
And Denise.
Denise Stephens.
He's taking a what?
We pronounce it another way, but he's taking a crap day.
Oh.
We allow our team members to just say, I'm not doing anything today. So, that's what
Personal health.
Yeah, need more team members here, so I have that option.
Yeah.
Who wants to join my team?
Okay. We'll go. Are they like scraggly?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like coming here now.
Yeah.
Oh, she's on the call. I think Gabe or something. Yeah, Denise was on the call.
Denise is on the call.
How many pictures are there total this time around?
Mine.
Eight?
Wait, no, you're good. 8? Oh, that's right. I can help you.
Yeah.
We have 8 full-time and 25 in the evening.
25, 26.
Yeah.
It fluctuates.
Our evening is like my favorite.
Every single chair is filled.
My favorite. Yeah.
Plus a computer.
Really?
Yeah.
He's so sweet. He's
It's-
so sweet.
Did you see his cat?
It's bump.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a really good place for them to start. Right?
That's pretty
All
cool.
right.
Yeah. Somewhere.
Thanks for your patience. Special treat. Sean drove all the way from Newport Beach to be here today.
That's right.
He used to live in Phoenix, and he Sean has
Dedication,
been,
Sean.
yeah. So Sean has been around SeedSpot since the beginning. Served as a mentor, a content expert, on selection committee, really everything around here. Always at demo day. A dear friend of mine personally. He used to camp out down at CEI, the Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation, but has a rich experience as an entrepreneur, raising capital, scaling ventures. I think he's going to share some of those stories as he goes through this, but a real expert and real passion for helping early stage startups discover customers and make sure you guys in the market. So totally a treat to have you here. I'm super proud and happy that you came back. We tugged it in tonight. So, but yeah, thanks, Tierney. It's all you.
Absolutely. All right, so good to meet you guys. I met Megan. I mean, this is a small enough group. Maybe we can just go around real quick and introduce ourselves. Met you too.
Yeah. Well, so Seafer, I'm actually working with SeedSpot right now. I'm the director of entrepreneur initiatives here, so
Cool.
developing the curriculum and making sure that all the speakers are as awesome as they say they are. So. No pressure. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm Brandon. My venture is acquired. We want to change the dynamic of hiring and give you an option to hire not only individuals but teams as well.
Okay.
And then the human capital management piece of that as well.
Cool. And Megan, your thoughts?
I'm Renee, and my venture is Pause to Read, so we take registered therapy animals into schools and libraries to help improve their literacy skills and their confidence.
Okay.
I'm Gabriel Cornejo. My venture is My People, and we have created a mobile application with students to access textbooks from each other. Textbooks
Textbooks.
from
Okay.
each other instead of just a bookstore. So they also have the ability to add each other as friends and form an academic base now.
Cool.
I'm John Johnson, from Cleveland, love Long Heights and walks on the beach. And,
All that beach in Ohio.
yeah.
And
You know,
Heights.
Lake Erie, you know. My ventures, feel free. We're developing a social movement to promote face-to-face interaction within local businesses.
Okay.
So I'm one of the 5 team members.
Cool. It's a big team.
I'm Steve Zeidman. I'm developing software for large humane societies and
Large humane societies.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, it's good to meet you guys. I want this to be interactive. Like, I definitely don't want to like just give you a bunch of stuff. I would prefer it to be more of a conversation. So yeah, let's get started. So I call this talk Practical CustDev, Unearthing Your Optimal Business Model. And I don't know, how deeply have you been exposed to customer development at this point? Have they talked about that?
Yeah.
So you guys are all introduced to this concept?
I think 3 of the 3 weeks. That's been.
All right, so, well, good, that should be the emphasis,
That's good,
frankly.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that should be the emphasis, because you guys, frankly, like, I've done a couple startups now, and this is the most promising framework for doing entrepreneurship that I've ever seen. And people used to think it's like this black art, that like some people just happen to be good at it, and others you're just not born with it, so you're not an entrepreneur. This is like a framework for doing entrepreneurship, if you believe. And I do think of it like, the best analogy, I really think it's like archaeology. Like, I feel like your optimal business model is there, it's buried under uncertainty. And so the job of the entrepreneur is to just chip away and excavate that business model and figure out what it is. It's not like you're making something new, you're almost discovering something that is buried there already. So you guys, I'm assuming you've seen this diagram before then, the 4 steps to the epiphany, Steve Blank. So we're going to be squarely focused on the customer discovery, which is the first one, and it's usually the one where most people get hung up. And it's also the gating factor to be able to do anything else. And so just like, I know you guys have probably already heard this, but just so we're all on the same page as far as what customer discovery is. So this, have you guys seen this one? That is like, kind of almost looks like Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing. So the whole thing, customer discovery, you're basically trying to find that stepping stone path to your first customers and get to product market fit. And so this is the very first thing you do is you basically try to find these guys, which are your early evangelists. If you've seen the Jeffrey Moore, that, you know, it's hugely cliched at this point, but like the adopter pattern, where you got like the early, you know, the early majority, laggards, all that. The early evangelists are like those people at the very tip of the front thing. Like they'll put up with something that is suboptimal because they have so much pain around it and they're already trying to solve it. And so they're willing to tolerate something that isn't perfect. And those are that's who you want to find as customer discovery. And then I put these images down here. Basically, if you remember nothing of like lean and customer discovery and all this stuff, it's essentially risk mitigation is what it is, or waste mitigation. Waste comes in the form of chasing the wrong thing and spending money and energy just foolishly chasing something that isn't the right deal. And having lived through this now in multiple startups, it's heartbreaking to see people go after the wrong thing and put all their energy and then not just waste time, but then get demoralized because you're just kind of spinning your wheels and you're not seeing progress. And so this is a framework for avoiding all that, avoiding the risk and the uncertainty that goes along with it. So before we like dig into this stuff, I figure I'd give you just like the quick history lesson. Like I always like to know who's talking to me because I'm like, why does this person have any more experience than I do? So I figured I'd just give you the quick history lesson. Everything above the line are the companies that I've worked for, and then below the line are the companies that I've started. So I got, like in college, I was still at Trinity in San Antonio, came back here for summer and talked my way into an internship at the first ISP in Phoenix. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of BS'd my way. They said, do you know HTML? No. Do you know Flash? No. Do you know any of this stuff? I'm like, no, I can type fast. They said, okay, you're hired. Good work. So was able to learn HTML, and in 2 weeks I got on salary with them, completed that internship, paid internship at that point, went back to college, came back after college, got a job at the newspaper, was responsible for bringing their Reels section online on the website. So I ended up doing the cars.com integration for them, learned something called Cold Fusion web programming, and then parlayed that into a job with this startup. I was employee number 5 there. We grew that to 45. Got acquired by Onvia, which is a publicly traded company, and then that's when the bubble burst and they got delisted and all that. Model Scouting Agency was their CTO for a while. Programmed mobile commerce applications. This is Pat Sullivan's company. He's a local guy. Just got named into like some Hall of Fame or something. But worked briefly there. Did hotel websites, and then completely burned out on programming. I went and learned how to do 3D animation and did the jury trial animations that you see when they show those like fancy animated things that demonstrate some concept. I did that for 2 years. This is a party bus company that we were in. We took a 40-foot city bus and turned it into a nightclub. And so that was a lot of fun. Lost a lot of money on that one, but learned a lot of lessons. This was a consultancy I did, building commerce and CMS before like WordPress existed. We were basically making ways for people to control their content on their websites. This company I started in 2006. It's called Jumpbox. It's still around today. It is the largest provider of what is called a virtual appliance for VMware, Parallels, and Amazon. We had 11 employees at our heyday. I think we've done $2 million in revenue. And this one just full of lessons, but a lot of heartache as well. After I left that company, I went and did a brief stint when the real estate market was in the dumps. I actually went through a short sale myself and then turned that into a company. And we systematized that process. We had the largest nationwide network of realtors processing short sales, and we had the largest Q&A system answering people's questions online. Then took an attempt at a music startup and realized it's very difficult. Musicians don't like to spend anything other than buying gear. But we wrote essentially the Google Docs of audio. We developed a system, what's called a digital audio workstation in the browser. So things like Pro Tools and GarageBand and these tools, we made a browser-based one of those. We're never able to make that go as far as a business model, but it's still around in terms of a hobby site. This is just essentially like the umbrella now that I do everything under. Grid 7 is just kind of like a shell. And then the one that we're going to be discussing today is Artilage. And so this is the current endeavor. This is what took me out to the Laguna Beach, Newport area, working with artists pretty closely now, and we're helping them sell their work. So in terms of my goals for you guys today, I have 3. I want to make this stuff more real. I feel like this is my 4th talk now at Seed Spot. Like Courtney said, I was literally here day 1. I was the first talk for the first cohort when we didn't know any of these programs and we had no idea what was going on. But the feedback cumulatively has always been, that's great, you can go through the academics, but it's like Steve Blank can teach you customer discovery and customer development better than I can. So rather than like rehashing concepts that are already out there, you can take his Udacity course, it's awesome, I highly recommend that you do. So rather than rehashing that stuff, let's make it real. Let's look at actual data. Show me the tools, show me the thought processes. I know Corinne said you guys wanted to learn like what was an assumption and then data and then a pivot as a result of it. Show me that whole cycle all the way through. So so basically, so you guys can apply that same thinking in your situation. So make it more real. I want to inspire you to go learn. Like my philosophy, I guess it's kind of a sidebar, but like education, in my opinion, education, it's not the role of the educator to like give you a bunch of data and information. Like it's the role of the educator to inspire you to then go want to learn that stuff on your own. And I mean, just like as a more meta topic, I think that's how it should be, like, societal level. with education. But that's the goal here, so not to give you a bunch of like how syntax and all that stuff. It's really more like, hey, what are the benefits of this stuff? How does it work? Get inspired, wanting to learn it. And then lastly, have you guys started a business model canvas in here? You have? Okay, cool. So maybe if we get time, like ideally I'd like to break this into 2 parts. First part will focus on my stuff, and I'll just show you. I'm literally gonna like open the kimono, show you everything we've done so far. And then second part, ideally we'll have a volunteer and we can go through your guys' canvas. So, cool. And what I don't want to do, have you guys heard the term Seagull Advisor? Have they told you that yet? So the Seagull Advisor, I mean, use your imagination, right? It's someone who swoops in and poops some advice on you and then leaves. And now you're left kind of just like, well, great, what is that? Like, what's different? What do I do differently now, you know? I don't want to be that, you guys. I want to give you actionable stuff. I want you guys to know that you can email me if there's questions after this. I'm going to try and make myself accessible as much as possible, and just not be the seagull here. So, okay, so all that being said, let's explain what the initial premises were with Artilage. So this is the story of Artilage. So our goal is to basically help artists be self-sufficient and not just they're horrible salespeople from our experience, and they feel awkward and they're not good at it, and it's one of the only professions where the creator is expected to also be the salesperson and sell their own work. And so we see just an inherent dilemma with that, and we also know that they're struggling right now with the economy, and that we would love nothing more than to give them some peace of mind and some recurring sales and just more predictable revenue. So that was where we started from. Some of the initial premises: artists aren't marketers, nor are they salespeople. They're just not. They're not well suited for it, and it's just it's awkward to watch them try and be at a festival and sit there in the corner like on their phone or like, hey, do you want to buy my thing? It's just, it hurts. We know that galleries take fairly substantial commissions, somewhere between 40 and 60% of the piece, and so that drives prices way up. It's a big chunk. It's understandable because they have huge rents, but it's at the same time, it's just not an optimal thing. So we believe that there's opportunity to do the stuff that we know how to do, because I have a background in marketing, psychology. I got into, in some of those companies I listed on there, got into the world of what's called Lifecycle Marketing, where you can use marketing automation to systematically move people through the continuum of how they come to learn about your company and engage and become a customer and tell their friends and buy everything you have and all that. So there's tools and methodologies to do that, and no one's doing that in the realm of the art world. So we believe there's opportunity to do that. We know that there's sites out there, kind of like the way that iStock Photo is for photographers, where they aggregate a bunch of photos and you can go to one spot and see a bunch of stuff. But that's not what we want to do. And that kind of devalues the artist. It commoditizes it and it puts them in a pool with a bunch of other people, and then essentially you're just becoming another gallery, only virtual gallery. So that isn't what we wanted to set out to do. We wanted to actually work on behalf of the artists and support them and give them like this marketing exoskeleton that would kind of work on their behalf. So we know that there will likely be some type of community component to it, that artists right now are kind of they're in their studio working solo on their own, and we think there's an opportunity to kind of bring them together and help them support each other. And lastly, we want to have max alignment with them. We don't want to sell another piece of software or some vaporware to an artist. We want to actually be on their team, and we're willing to go commission only, and to actually put our money where their mouth is and only get paid when they get paid.
Did you narrow what you mean by artist?
Mm-hmm. So by artists, right now, obviously this could expand at some point, but like the trick is always to remain laser focused initially. We're talking about festival artists in Laguna Beach, and there's about 350 of them. And these people range from painters to photographers, glass blowers, ceramics, sculpture, and jewelers. And so there's 6 categories. But yeah, we've had inquiries. One lady asked us, hey, my husband's a violinist, is this applicable? Could you do it for them? The answer is yes at some point, but it would be just foolish right now for us to get sidetracked on that. So we're going to stay focused on just the physical, create stuff artists.
Where'd you learn the lifecycle marketing? Was that at a company you developed or worked for?
It was on the short salepedia one, on the real estate business. I got introduced to it. We basically, on that one, we tried like 10 different CRM systems because we're managing deals across the country and homeowners and agents and all these moving pieces. Hold on a second. My computer.
Oh, cool.
Speaking of, he's one of the premier lifecycle marketing guys, actually, Tyler Gardens. I have no idea what he's called. Oh yeah, so to answer your question, I got introduced to it at Short Salepedia. We had tried a bunch of different CRM systems, and we didn't find anything that that did what we wanted it to do. We wanted a system that wasn't like a static repository of data. We wanted something that would go out and ping the homeowner and say, hey, did you get in touch with the agent? And ping the agent and say, hey, you know, where's the status with this? Did we get a BPO? Did we get the listing contract? Did we get the bank approval? You know, like all these, we wanted to be active and proactively doing this stuff. And so, unbeknownst to us, we were discovering the concept of lifecycle marketing. Eventually I got introduced to Infusionsoft, a local company that made a product that did what we wanted, and we were able to use that tool to make a system that got us like center stage at LeadsCon. We got flown out to New York, they put us on stage, and we demonstrated this tool that we used to do exactly that. We set up a whole like funnel of how a homeowner went from not knowing what to do to learning about us to then listing with us to then pairing them up with an agent, going through each step of the deal all the way through a completed sale.
And that was all, you guys created all of that code or?
Infusionsoft was the platform that we used,
So
and we formulated, they have like a visual, what they call their campaign builder, and we were able to cobble together, you know, just each step of the funnel. But yeah, so lifecycle marketing is their term. But I think of that as independent of the tool. It's kind of like carpentry is the craft, and then the hammer is what you just happen to use to practice it. So Infusionsoft is a system that allows you to implement lifecycle.
Brilliantly.
Yeah, it's good. I'm actually no longer, I was certified. I went and got certified in Infusionsoft, and I did that for a while, actually setting that up for folks. I've since switched to a competitive product, and that's a whole other conversation we can probably have if you want, but yeah, again, it's just important to always separate the tool from the craft and understand that like the vendor is of course going to want you to believe that their tool is the craft, but the craft is larger than that. It's the thing that's decoupled from the actual technology. All right, so hopefully my computer doesn't start calling anymore. We'll be right here. Let's go through, I'm going to give you guys like kind of the timeline of how things have gone. We've literally been at this for a month, exactly. And so it's just that the timing of this is really, it coincided nicely. When Corinne reached out a month ago, I said, hey, you know, we're entering this phase ourselves right now, so we're going to be like doing this stuff alongside. It's really good timing. So I'm just going to show you exactly how things have played out over the last month. So that day before Labor Day, I moved to California. Drove out there in my truck. That first Thursday, we had a splash page up and running, which I'll show you. We used a system called Unbounce to create that quickly. And we were collecting leads right off the bat. They have an event, first Thursdays in Laguna is the equivalent of our first Fridays. They have these, like, you walk around and all the galleries open up and you get to meet the artists and go around. So we scrambled to get that up by Thursday, and then we printed off these cards, and I'll show you. We went to Kinko's, used their little online print thing, got them, and then like immediately, you know, we were just in time to get to the art walk, and we were handing them out, talking to artists. So it's always a game of like, how do you push yourself to scramble and just get in front of people, right? So that Monday, the guy, my business partner, has a virtual assistant, and she was tasked to go and basically look at the festival sites and start one by one, get the contact information for every artist on there. It wasn't, I mean, I don't envy her for that job, because that was 350, click around, find the email, find the phone, all that, and she did a big Google Doc for us, and we had 350 artists that we could then reach out to. So on that next Friday, we had our first interview with an artist. This one was just a friend of a friend, so it didn't require any recruiting effort. We were able to just line that up. And that was really good. It was, it reaffirmed some of the ideas that we had. And you know, at this point, it's like we could still be chasing a phantom business. Like for all we know, this isn't real, but we have more and more signal the deeper we get into it, which is a good sign. So I'm actually pleasantly happy with the way things are going. So on that next Monday, we hired my Filipino guy to scrape a bunch of directories of artists in the area. So we added another 750 people to that list, which gets us over the threshold with what Facebook requires to do a custom audience. Has anyone heard that term before? So I'm gonna show you some gangster stuff in a minute of like how you actually reach these people. All right, so on that Wednesday, we did an email blast. We didn't even use a tool. We used a Google account. Google throttles you to 500 emails per day. And so we were able to do an email blast to the 350 festival artists. And it was just, I'll show you the email actually, I'll pull it up. And it was just very much heartfelt email from my partner who had gone. He bought what's called a passport. And it's like the upper thing that gets you into all the festivals. And he went basically every other day to all the festivals this summer. And so it was just him saying, hey, I really think there's something here. I want to support local artists. If you're up for it, I'd like to meet you for coffee. And so we got a really good response from that. I don't know if this is, let's see this. Oh. So we started a Facebook branding campaign on that weekend. And the idea here was that we're reaching out to all these people and we wanted them to hear of us through other methods. So we're always in their head and they're like, oh wow, these guys are bigger than we thought. So we use that custom audience thing that I'll show you in a minute, and we were able to do a branding campaign to them. And then that next week, we did 3 interviews per day for 3 days, and it was really good. We got in front of 9 people and just furiously scribbled notes and asked the right questions, and I'm going to show you the exact data that we got from it. And so I guess we're here now on the 30th, and I go back Thursday. We've done our last interviews Thursday and Friday, and by Friday we will have met with 15 artists, and that's about the right number. I understand you guys have all met with around like 10 or so people. Is that about right? So that's good. Like I think you can get signal for sure from that sample set, and so yeah. And then we hope to have our cohort of people finalized by this weekend, basically. So, any questions so far? Okay. All right, so let's actually look at some of the data here. And I'm just going to, first off, let me pull up the email that I mentioned. Well, here's one that so this isn't the initial email, this is something sent. We're now looking, so we actually landed a painter and a jeweler, and we're looking for a glass blower and a photographer at this point. This is a follow-up email that my business partner sent, but you can see, it's not even, so, I don't know if, here's, you can see the language. I mean, there's no, it's just very much no BS, like, we're reaching out, this is what we're doing, do you want to be involved?
So was the first sentence customized to each person you sent it out to?
Yeah, on this one, so let me show you the one that went to the 350.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was a follow-up one this week, because, here we go. Okay, so you can see there's 100 messages in this exchange. So there's the email that originally went out to all the 350. And for whatever reason, this struck a nerve. People responded. You can see there's 100 exchanges in that thread. what we didn't do is we didn't go in with, hey, we can boost your marketing, we can blah, 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 like us telling them we know what you need. It was more, we casually say, we would really like to learn what your frustrations were. This is what we think might be problems, but we would love to hear from you, and this is what we're capable of doing. And that's the right approach to take at this stage, you guys. Don't go in assuming you know the solution. Go in purely to try and unearth that problem and get it, what that is. So, this is, I'm trying to mirror my screen. This is weird.
So your goal was to get the first response and kind of get your initial guys to target, and then you're trying to round out, because you want an artist that represents each one of those categories that you're trying to go after?
Yeah, so that thinking didn't exist. I'm gonna take you through the evolution of what our thinking was.
Yeah, because I'd like to know if there was one group that responded, like all the photographers responded, or all of the, so I'd love to.
Yeah, oddly,
Bring up where you're going.
the jewelers were the ones that responded the most. And yeah, so we'll go through that.
So you send this out saying, hey, we notice, it seems to me like you guys all have this problem, a kind of problem. I want to hear what your problem is that you're
Exactly.
solving. And then you send a follow-up email.
Yeah, well, we invited them basically to set up a meeting with us, meet for coffee. And we should have gotten like some kind of affiliate relationship with this one coffee shop because we've sent them so much business. Sync Coffee is like the biggest benefactor of this whole effort. But yeah, we basically camped out there for 3 days, you know, just downing green tea every day, and had these conversations. And so let me show you like the system that we're using. I'll just step you through, and if you have questions, you guys just like tell me what you want to know about. But basically, we use Google Drive as kind of our place to store everything. It's convenient because the phone interface, like all I'm doing is I have a little SeedSpot notebook. I take my notes. I highly recommend you don't use a laptop when you're in your meetings because it puts distance between you and the person. And so it worked really well with Dave and myself, Dave, my business partner. One of us would kind of be leading the discussion, the other scribbling notes, and I just kind of wound up being scribe. But then also I'm listening to what he's saying, I'm thinking, what are we forgetting here? What do I need to know? I had an Evernote here of questions.
Did you send the initial email from a personal email, or did you create an email address that linked to that splash page?
Personal, yeah. At this point, we hadn't, so we parallelized the two things. We were running ads on the splash page for Artilage, but with the artists, we didn't even tell them the name Artilage or anything other than, hey, we think that there's an opportunity to solve some of these things that we foresee as problems. Would you be willing to meet with us? And at that point, it came from Dave's personal email address. So I don't know how to make, let's see here. Okay, so these are the questions that we had for the interviews. And this was in an Evernote, and I find that Evernote, like Google Drive is great for storing a bunch of stuff. Evernote is like quick access, so for like a read-only type thing, this was handy just to have our questions on Evernote. If there was ever a lull in the conversation, just pop it out and say, oh yeah, you know, what worked, what didn't. So these were some of the questions that we had for them. And this list grew the more conversations we got into, obviously, and that's the great thing about this is when you do rapid, 9 interviews in a row, on interview 2, you learn something like, holy crap, we hadn't even thought of that. So then by interview 3, you're now able to start iterating with your questions. So these are where the questions came from. Then the system that we use for tracking all this stuff, this is our Google Drive here. It's broken into folders, and then we just have a research thing here. And does anyone know on the Mac how you just make the screen itself expand? I know there's a way to do it.
Top right corner.
Top right corner.
See the 2 arrows that are on diagonal? Window?
Where you,
I think this projector is off.
Yeah.
Is that,
Do you know I?
oh, I see. I can do this thing.
Believe it. You're silly
Technical.
science machines. Disrupts my creative.
I know there's some way, like option drag or something. It's weird.
Of course.
So here's how we store the stuff from the interview. So these are the 11 artists that we've interviewed with. We just made a folder on there, created a folder for each one of them, and then we take the notes and just literally take a photograph of the notes, put it in there, and then after every interview, and I highly recommend you guys do this, we would debrief. So we would come back, we do the 3 interviews, come back to Dave's place, and then in front of the whiteboard, we do a takeaways on each, and then we would distill, what did we learn from that? What do we actually, this is what they said, but like read between the lines, what are the opportunities, what do we like do differently based on that? So, I don't know the best way, I mean, there's so many lessons here. Like the conclusions that we drew, I'll just tell you this. Jewelers, we figured out like what constitutes the ideal profile of someone we want to work with. That they're under-marketed, they know their business, they believe in us, they have the latitude to pay commission, and they know, they recognize the problem. We're not trying to like sell them on this concept. They're wanting it. They're saying, oh, when can we work together? And so we found that like jewelers, because of the economy, gold is at a high price, so their raw costs right now are up there, and people aren't buying as much stuff. So they're particularly squeezed, so they seem to be the ones that were most receptive to our message. Painters, their paints, the costs don't change much, right? They can go and do their thing and nothing really changed. But the jewelers are the ones where the raw goods are going up, but their sales are going down, so they're really squeezed.
Do you find that differ between whether they were using gold or silver? Did you see a difference?
We haven't talked with enough to know that, although I guess my hunch would be gold is the one that's most squeezed. But I don't know, that's a good question.
So I just wondered, as I've been in a lot of festivals, I haven't seen as much gold out in the marketplace at the festivals. It seems almost like they're shifting their product.
The one that, this guy is the one that we're gonna end up working with, Luciano Barton. He deals in opal. He has an awesome, really cool type of jewelry that he does. And his is very specific. I've never seen anything like it. It's an opal jewelry, and we learned so much from him. I'll see if I can blow it.
Is he on Shark Tank?
Not that I know of.
I remember that guy.
Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
the crazy
Okay.
Italian.
This guy's Australian. Although Luciano Barton, I can see what he's doing. Let's see, the stuff we learned from him. Yeah, he just wanted someone to handle it. I always write down the words. You guys, what you want to look for is when they lean in and you see their face change and they go, oh my God, I just want someone to handle it. That is when you write down someone to handle it, in quotes, because it's resonating with them and you grab them on that. So you just said, I just want a virtual shop. I want someone to handle it.
I can't manage it.
Can't manage it. My wife got somebody to build it. We don't even know how to change the pictures on it now. These are the hostage to webmaster. We hear these things repeatedly. So this is another pattern we've noticed. There's a irrational fear of piracy. Software people get this as well, and I think we need to reframe the artists to understand what we already understand in the software world, which is those people are never going to buy your stuff. So don't even spend energy. Like, you're going to fence out. This guy wants to take his website and put everything behind a sign-up form and not even show you his store until you've given him his email. So A, that doesn't solve the problem. You can just throw in a Hotmail address and do the exact same thing. But B, you're now fencing out all the people that might be shoppers for you because of your irrational fear of piracy. So that's something that we hadn't even thought of going into it, but more than one person voiced the same concern, right? And so now it's either, okay, we have to do this in such a way that alleviates their concerns, or reframe them and get them to realize the mistake of their ways.
It's like on the software side with one hand, get everyone to sign NDAs. It's not gonna, doesn't do anything.
It doesn't help you, yeah.
And it restricts you from talking to people.
Exactly. It's exactly the same thing. Yeah. But we also learned there's some interesting psychology that artists, specifically this other one, not on this one, G. Clay's, but same idea. Artists have this, they want the sacredness of the art, and they want to keep it exclusive, and they want to put it, where only a few people can look at it, and da-da-da. And it's just like things that we would never even guess. We're looking at it from a business angle, saying, oh my God, that's the dumbest thing you could possibly do. Why would you limit your audience like that? But then it's not, like, that's the reality. That is what exists, so we need to figure out how to work with that, right? So some other variables that we started collecting that just became just drop dead, like we should have known that from the beginning, but like average piece size, the volume that they're currently doing, you know, what is their market, all these variables that we can look at it and objectively say, you know, this is where they're at, this is where we think we can take them, and you know, they're a good candidate for us because of this.
Yeah.
With these higher dollar things, it's interesting to learn their sales process and when it occurs, and either they make the impulse buy at the show or they lose them because they don't have a good follow-up process in place. So there is no like protracted sales cycle. It's either an impulse or nothing, which is something we can fix. Let's see.
You can fix that because they can then follow up with them after the show.
Yeah,
Is that
well,
what you're saying?
with the what I call the exoskeleton of marketing that we set up for them, it's not even on the artist. It's just going to happen automatically. So the business card goes in the fishbowl, gets scanned, becomes a lead, triggers the emails. Did they click it, not click it, do things differently based on what they did? And we have this whole decision tree of marketing that just triggers based on nothing from the artist. It can just be, you know, they can answer the occasional email when there's some specific question, but the basic follow-up just occurs automatically. Yeah, here's another one in quotes. She said, if you guys can create a system like that, geez, you know, he just, I mean, just completely, yeah, that's what I want. So, and then the commission that they're willing to pay also becomes a variable. And you know, if you model the numbers from our perspective, like what's a good candidate? Someone has all those qualities, but then when it comes down to numbers, has the margin to be able to pay us commission, is willing to pay us a commission. You know, all these factors become obvious. So, yeah, so I mean, without going through each one of these, because I mean, literally, we have a page of notes on every single person that we talk to. We have both the takeaways and then the little hand-drawn notes. We got competitive sites, we got, you know, who they've talked to, what they've been doing that works, all these psychology that we never even thought we'd unearth. So just it's a ton of useful stuff. Let me show you. Okay, so let me show you when I say we parallelize the learning. So while we're simultaneously emailing these artists and meeting them under the context of just, hey, we're interested in learning your business, we're not any company yet, we're also testing the messaging around Artilage and trying different ideas there. So let me show you the system we use. It's called Unbounce.
How much response did you get from your initial mail out?
So that this email thread, this is it. So we had, let's see here, 100, that's including the back and forth, so maybe, I don't know, 60 people that we talked with from that. So 60 out of 350, not bad.
And then you opted 15 of them to actually meet with?
Yeah. I mean, there's probably, we could go back and follow up with the people that we never scheduled with and still get some more people. At this point, we've had enough interviews where we're pretty confident we've seen enough repeat in the data, and that's what you're looking for. Because, I think Steve Blank says, do the interviews until all the data starts looking the same.
I noticed that my initial reaction is, oh, I need to respond, I need to engage all of those people. So that's just noticing that for me, I would have said, oh, they responded to me, I need to engage them, whether it's true or not. So.
Well, it's like anything, it's where do you put your emphasis? And once we got to the point where we had enough conversations, is our energy best spent going and following up with those people to get like another 20 people, or is it, hey, we've learned enough, what's the next thing?
Oh, I agree, I'm just calling out that behavior that I realized, oh, I don't need to engage them.
Yeah, always be thinking like, what do we need to learn right now, and what do we need to do to learn that? That's what it is. So yeah, so 60 people out of that first blast. Simultaneously, we're running, so here's the landing pages. Like if you go to artilage.com, this is the splash page that's up there now. We did this video on Powtoon, which is, I highly recommend. You know, it's kind of those stupid animation things, but people seem to like it. And it tells the story. So, Powtoon is the animation thing, and it allows, it's like it lets you drag stuff around and make your own little animation and put a voiceover on it. Unbounce is the system for making the page itself. It's great. It's got this visual builder. If you don't need to know anything, you just, here, I'll show you.
What are the costs on Powtoon?
It's free with, it just puts the little branding on the end of it. And then you can pay, I forget what it is, like
For whatever.
$50 to export it with HD and no branding and all that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is perfectly adequate. We hosted it on Wistia. Wistia gives us, so yeah, put that little thing at the end.
And this is your splash page?
Yeah, this is our website right now, if you go there. And then we made sub-pages that we sent the Facebook ad traffic to. So, I'll show you. What's neat about this system is it lets you very quickly develop the page and then A/B test variants of it. We're not at the point where we need to really get that granular of testing the messages and all that. But it is super useful. You don't have to even go set up a website. It's just like instant website. So here's the one that we were driving the traffic to. You can see the stats. So 83 visitors, 9 conversions. That's not bad. A 10% conversion rate on that page is actually, I'm really happy with it.
And what was considered a conversion? Like them saying, send me more info?
Yeah, a conversion is them filling out this
Okay, gotcha.
thing. And then once they do that, they go to this page. So there's a two-step application process. So then we get some more data from them here, where we asked a bunch of the questions that we were getting out of the interview. So, what do we need to know from these people? And so, yeah, so you can see, just super easy to run this stuff. I'll show you what the little builder looks like.
And did this second page of that apply here, did anybody drop off there?
Mm-hmm.
They did?
Yeah, I'd say half the people actually filled out the full application. But what's great is, I'll show you this too.
Half of the 9?
So there's actually 13 all told. We sent ads to a different page. So let me show you. So this is the CRM we're using. This is, like I said, a competitor to Infusionsoft that I actually prefer now.
What's the name of it?
Active Campaign. Yeah, I'll send you links to all this stuff.
Okay.
Make sure that you guys have it. So these are the people. 13 of these came through Facebook, and then some of the others were people that we just met. This is the guy I mentioned that was a friend of a friend. So we're just trying to track all the conversations. This tool is really neat. It lets you like set up a monitor on your Gmail, and it'll append the conversations that you're having to it. So if you have a business partner, all of your stuff is in one place, and you can know what's been said to them. And then we set up this. So this is just a simple little automation that goes, it kicks off once they start the application process. So once they fill out this lead form, it then gives them 30 minutes to complete the full application. If they do, then they're going to get a, hey, thanks for completing it, we got your app. If they don't, it's going to say, hey, by the way, notice you never finished the application, here's a link if you got stuck. And it's sent from my iPhone. So it looks like I just sat there and like I'm tracking and like just welcoming them in or saying, hey, we never got your full application. So these are things like, this is a living example of what we're talking about doing for the artists, but it's this automated marketing where I'm not sitting on my cell phone tracking these things, it's just happening in the background. So let me show you what the Facebook ads look like. And by the way, how much time do we have? Do you guys know when this goes to?
Yeah, technically another 15 minutes. But
Okay. Just let me know, cut me off when we're done, or tell me what you want to focus on.
Lock the doors.
yeah, can't leave.
You have 4.5 more hours, but after that, we're gonna have to cut you off.
Okay, so here's the Facebook ads. So 13 conversions. You can see we spent $50 and we got 13 leads out of it. So at a cost of less than $4 per lead, I'm really happy with the way it went. And these are unoptimized ads. Typically, you never want to just throw up one variant. You want to always be A/B testing 2 ads. We didn't even do that. We threw it at one landing page, one variant, and no variant of the ads. And this is what we got. So
did you target certain? Did you put in certain parameters?
yeah. So we initially before we had that list, if you remember the calendar, we didn't actually have that list. We targeted based on interest in the festivals, interest in art, and then geo-constrained it to Laguna Beach plus 25 miles. So, and we got I think we got like 3 or 4 or something like that. And then once we uploaded the list, we had the list of emails, and what's cool is Facebook lets you do this, the audience. yeah, we made a company page, which you have to do if you're running ads and you want to have them in the newsfeed. And by the way, do them in the newsfeed. Don't do them on the little sidebar. They just get nothing, no clicks on the sidebar. But the newsfeed's been working really well. This is, let's see. So what you can do then is with this audience, you upload the emails and Facebook will tell you who of that audience is on Facebook and it will let you serve ads to them. And that's called custom audiences. So
You have to have 1,000 to do that, is that what you said?
It seems to be like not consistent. Like at one point it wouldn't let us get past that page and then it did. So yeah, so we just scraped a directory until we had 1,000 and it let us do it. So I guess you could, in theory, just stuff it with people you don't care about at that point because you're hitting the 300 that you wanted to hit, so just pad it with another 700 that you don't care about.
Facebook's just trying to let more data.
What's that?
I said Facebook just wants more data, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'll say that again, they'll tell you who's on and what else?
Well, they won't, so they'll anonymize everything, so you can never actually see the people, but what they do is they take basically like a hash of your emails and they figure out what user accounts have those emails on Facebook, and then they make that an audience for you. And you're able to use that audience just like you would as an interest and target them. So let's just pull up one of the ads so you can actually
And
see.
then you're going to target them with your specific
Pretty sure
ad.
that's what that school list, because literally every person I know was on there. Everyone in my age group, everyone. It was like everyone. It was crazy.
So let's look at one of these ads. And again, we only did one version of the ad so far. So this is it. I don't know if you can see that.
And you put that on your own feed, and then it just showed up on all of theirs, on your
Yes.
audience.
Yeah. Yeah. So selling tools for artists, imagine a quarter's web presence, newsletter, online storefront, automated email follow-ups, and business cards that magically become leads. Our pilot program is exclusively for Laguna Beach artists. So, yeah. So
Was it a CPM or CPC campaign or?
this was a CPC, yeah. And I do recommend that you set up the conversion tracking. You just get a little snippet of code that you put on. In our case, we put it on the application page because it means that at that point they had submitted a lead. Yeah. So yeah. And so this is completely, like I said, it's parallelized. You can run this independently and be testing what works as a acquisition channel while simultaneously doing your CustDev over here with people that don't even know who you are. So
And if they click on that, where does it take them?
it
They
takes them
click on
to this page.
So you created a separate page, not.
That's your landing page, right?
This is a sub page, yeah. It was here it is. Festival artists. And this phrasing up here came directly out of those. Like this is where you want to incorporate what you learn in the vocabulary and hearing how they refer to their business. All of them are looking at this like, we just finished these festivals. It was actually a down year. Like attendance was constant, but sales were way down. And so just people aren't buying. The economy is rough, and these people are just looking at it like, what do I do now? They have no idea what their plan is from here to get to the next summer festivals. So this struck a nerve, and I mean those stats reflect that. 13 leads for $50 is a really good spend.
And you definitely want your landing page to reflect whatever audience you're marketing to.
Yeah. So let me take you through then, in the time we have left, what the evolution of the model was and how these things affected our decisions. So we went into this thinking that first Thursday when we went out there with the cards, we were promoting this idea of, hey, we're gonna rent out a room at Total Wine and do a wine tasting and do a seminar for these artists, and then just use this as, teach them something valuable, but use that to get them in the room and start to meet them that way. And we got exactly 0 signups for that. Talked to a lot of people, gave a lot of cards, had people say, oh yeah, that sounds interesting, and not one person signed up for it. So that was just, we knew that wasn't the right thing. So from there, we got the idea, well, let's do this as a pilot program. We'll just have to give it away free for one person, and we'll make it like a contest giveaway kind of thing. Like, hey, submit your thing, you'll be considered, and you're gonna get like $10,000 worth of consulting. And that we had a few signups for, but that wasn't the right thing. So in the course of those conversations, I started throwing out, well, look, we're on your team. We're going to put our money where their mouth is. Like, why don't we just work commission only for you? And immediately they're receptive to that. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. And rather than tell them, oh yeah, you know, we take 20% commission, we framed it as, you guys dictate the commission. That's just a variable we choose and who, you know, we use in choosing who we want to work with. So we let them set the commission they're comfortable paying, and then that's also more data we get to collect from them. And we were getting, you know, people saying 40, 45% commission, which blew me away, because I thought they were, you know, not wanting to do that, but the galleries already kind of raping them with commission. And they're more than happy because they saw the value of having their own system and being independent of the galleries and saying, yeah, we'll just treat you like a gallery in that situation. So, so we moved it. Our thinking at that point became, okay, we're going to find the one person that we're going to do commission only on this person, and that's what we'll do. And then we realized, wouldn't this be way cooler to do it almost like SeedSpot, where you're in the presence of other artists and you guys learn together and you're non-competitive. So like, we couldn't do two painters simultaneously because then they'll be competing against one another. But a jeweler and a painter and a photographer and a glassblower, now that's really interesting. And we can also, it adds the element that's missing right now, where these people all say they're working from home and they're siloed and excluded and they just want the community. And so there we go. So we hit upon the model. Everyone we told that model to, they said, oh yeah, that's fantastic. I would love to be in a group like that. So that's where it stands now. Other lessons, pretty clearly, that is a valid customer acquisition channel for us, and those are unoptimized ads. That was the first version we threw out there. We got that response. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Like I said, the irrational fears of piracy, we need to figure out how to either tame those fears or reframe them or work with the fears. We have discovered that there is opportunity outside of the lifecycle marketing stuff that we know how to do online. I think there's going to be opportunity to actually change how the purchase process works for artists. We've come across a piece of software that allows us to photograph a room and then superimpose work in it and let them try without ever leaving their house, try how these paintings look. And so that's really interesting. We've also thought about doing low fidelity prototypes, so that if they're not quite ready to buy, instead of sending them home and saying, okay, no sale, and then you lose them forever, send them home with a low fidelity copy of the painting. Say, well, just put it up on your wall. They call it the puppy dog close. Put it up on your wall, see how you live with it for a few days, see how you like it. And I think there's going to be opportunity to make something, an innovation in that regard. We learned that the artists are not really even frustrated with the gallery. Surprisingly, I thought they'd be, just feel like they're, suffocated by them. But it's not the case. They're frustrated with the festivals and the marketing that's done. They said that the festivals didn't properly promote them or feature them there, and that the artists were so frustrated who worked the festivals. And one of the phrases was, yeah, we're just monkeys in the cages. We're the entertainment at these festivals. We're not, it's not the right presentation of the artists. Pretty much everyone's side of the economy is being the problem. And while that may be the case, that is the reality, that's the new norm. And so figuring out how to work within this set of constraints is our challenge. So our open questions at this point, just to give you our line of thinking, obviously this all comes down to now, like we have the artists identified that we want to work with, we've gotten the commission arrangements, there needs to be some legal hashed out there, but we've got the meeting of the minds in terms of how this is going to work. The question is, how much can we actually move the needle for these folks? With everything that we know how to do, how much can we actually change the game? And in my opinion, if we can even double sales, like I think we could potentially do more, but like if we can double sales for the jeweler, that's going to be a phenomenal outcome. And taking a cut of that, a 20% cut, means we don't have to do a free pilot program. We can actually start getting paid, relatively early in this process. So that was an epiphany, not pushing the free pilot, but actually just saying, look, we'll work on commission. And it actually got us more respect with the people, rather than thinking like, oh yeah, I want this for free. you think of the clientele you get in that situation versus meeting someone who says, yeah, I recognize your value and I'm going to pay you a commission on that. It's just a better relationship all around. What is the 80-20 for us to make the most difference, right? That's always the name of the game. We can do 100 things for these people, but what is the one thing we can do that's going to move the needle? Who constitutes the ideal candidates? We've done our best. It's a kind of a nebulous, not a science right now, it's an art. And when we meet with people, we kind of get to know them and ask these questions that we've been talking about. But at some point, this is going to need to be systematized into an application that's just very much a binary thing. This is a big question. How do we track the offline sales, right? If we're not, it remains to be seen, are we going to be collecting a deposit? Are we taking the payment for the whole piece up front? This is all kind of open-ended stuff right now, but the big question is on those sales where then they get introduced via our mechanism, but then end up consummating the deal offline, how do we stay in the payment stream there? And we have ideas. I think the people that we met with thus far are open to us managing the books and having access to that. So that's ideal. It's a surprising number don't use anything. They don't use QuickBooks, they don't use Quicken, they use a spreadsheet to track
Get them
stuff.
all on Stitch Labs, and then you'll just be a user on your Stitch Labs account.
Well, we're planning to use, there's one called Wave that I've been using myself that I'm a pretty big fan of. And it's actually a free accounting system. You can pay like $10 a month for support. But I really like it. And our plan right now is just to move everyone onto that and flow all the stuff through there. So we'll have full transparency into their books.
One another way to do that is for you guys to control kind of the payment gateway since you're managing all this piece of it. So whether it be Stripe or Square or one of those others, and you kind of take over that role for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the plan. Is we intend to collect at least a portion of it online, so we then have the order. But there's also questions around what if we sell a piece online, but they've sold it offline, right? There needs to be a handshake, and But this is what we know how to do with the automation, SMS. Hey, reserve this payment. Blah, blah, blah. So here's a question. How do we, if we engage with these 4 people and then one of them a couple months from now says, you know what, this isn't what I thought it was, I want to go my separate ways. If we've taken over their website and we're highly integrated with their bank and all that stuff, we're pretty locked in, and decoupling that is going to be a pain. So this is a very real question, is how do we partition ourselves cleanly so that we can separate? And how do we most fairly retain our IP and our value, and when we do make the decision to decouple from someone, they go their separate ways, but then they haven't just gotten a bunch of free work and walk off with everything we've done for them. So there's some open questions here. We have ideas on how to solve this, but this is where our head's at this point. These are the next things we need to learn. Oh yeah, and lastly, as we're doing everything, they say if you can't describe what you're doing as a process, then you don't know what you're doing. And so everything we do has to be formulated such that it can be a recipe for someone else, a virtual assistant, to then later go and do the things that we're doing right now. So how do we systematize everything that we're doing? So I don't know, I guess we're probably almost out of time at this point.
Yeah. But I think we can,
We can just open it for questions or
questions. And,
does anyone have a situation that they're like grappling with where they don't know what to do next? Those are the fun ones.
I think I really want to talk to you, by the way, because what we're developing is pretty much when you said taking the life cycle of now you're specifically targeting artists and art enthusiasts when they make contact with that artist and then purchase a product from them or whatever that may be. What we're developing is when somebody steps foot into a business, what is going on within that business? What's the life cycle within them just being in a local coffee shop or an art gallery? Mm-hmm. One of my buddies, a really good friend of mine, he's the social media coordinator for the Phoenix Art Museum here. And we just talked on Sunday. He said, I am actually finally getting to the point where I'm able to estimate the life cycle of somebody that stepped foot into the art museum the first time and actually became a member and attended events and it maybe even bought a piece of art. So he started to figure out those systems, which you said is something that a lot of people still haven't figured out. Yeah. And it's huge because it's a lot of time and effort, but it also helps with a lot of understanding of how your business is performing, especially as a nonprofit like the Phoenix Art Museum is. So we are going to be creating, I guess, marketing tools for these art museums, or whether it's the local coffee shop or the art museum, to identify their customers when they step foot in there, what events are they attending, things like that. And I guess the biggest thing for us is how we're going to structure that platform for those businesses to identify all that data, just like how you're talking about Facebook, and you're able to identify the data that you're collecting. You seem very good at identifying the data that you need from your customers at the very early stages. We're moving into that, in less than 2 months, so we're gonna have to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's an exercise in analyzing everything you just did and thinking about what do we need to do next. So bottom line is track everything, like track stuff. I guess that's bad advice because you can drown yourself in a bunch of meaningless information. But if you're in doubt whether something is important, track the metric, and then you can always discard it later, but you can never get back what you didn't track. So like we have the system that we're using, this active campaign. Like if you look at this, it's really neat how it works. Like it allows you, and it does all this in the background. It builds, shows you their picture. It goes out and it grabs their social media so you can see what they're saying. It shows you everything they've done on your website, every tag that's been applied, the answers to the questions over here. This is their application, so these all become custom fields.
And that just plugs right into your website?
You put a little piece of JavaScript on the website and then it does the rest. And in this case, Unbalanced is feeding those contact forms. There's a tool called Zapier, which it's kind of the glue amongst all different systems. And so we pipe the data into Zapier. Zapier pushes it into Active Campaign.
If we created our own website, like custom, we can do the same thing.
Yeah. Are you going to do like a WordPress website or?
No, we're building pretty much a social marketing platform.
So a custom piece of software. Yeah, you can, as long as you can push the data. If you have a developer and you're doing a custom platform, Zapier and all these tools, these guys have a REST API, so you can just push the data into it.
This is from your experience. This seems to organize everything.
I've worked with a lot of systems, and like I said, I became hugely frustrated with Infusionsoft and have since moved to this platform. We've set it up for a couple people. Hart, I don't know if you guys have met Hart Schaefer. So he went through our accelerator. We set him up on this. Done an Australian client on this. Myself, I switched over to it and we're using it for our local channel.
Is this setup easier? Because that's what's so daunting about Infusionsoft.
Yeah,
it's like
just
you just lock yourself in a room for a month setting it up.
It's a nightmare.
Well, I would say even setup is one thing, but then day-to-day usability of it is just overwhelming, right? This, to me, is far more intuitive. I feel like it's more my people, like it's created by, it's like Stripe, it's got like a very just like attention to UX and just a good feel to it. So
the same thing with Infusionsoft and Salesforce, and these guys so bloated that they're almost unusable.
And they have a legacy now. They're a 10-year-old company. So these guys are actually a 10-year-old company, but they're more my mindset. I feel like they have so many legacy people to support, and they like pre-campaign builder, all these things that it's like they need to almost just cut all that and start fresh and build new.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, like any questions you have. We didn't even get to go in, we set up AdWords too as another channel, just testing that. It hasn't done nearly the volume, but that's kind of expected. Like no one's actively going out and saying, how do I?
What do you do after a festival's done?
Yeah, exactly. So instead of going the search intent-based, we went more around who the person is, which is what Facebook lets you do. LinkedIn, for all I know, may be a viable channel, although I don't know artists if they'll be as inclined to be on LinkedIn. Everyone's on Facebook, it seems like, at this point. So that's why we started there.
Twitter, Instagram, I think would be good channels too.
I think Instagram, definitely. The people that we've talked to have all said that that's actually a really useful tool for them. Twitter, maybe. I'm not totally convinced on that.
Obviously Instagram, I think, because it's all picture-based.
Yeah, exactly.
And this might be my ADD kicking in, but what are you guys creating? What's the product, and how is it, I guess, going to?
Yeah.
So do you have any, have you developed anything yet, or no?
No, well, what we've done is done this for a lot of other companies. We've never done it in the art realm. So what we're developing is that decision tree, like looking at their process and treating them, we're basically operating like an outsourced VP of sales and marketing for each one of these people. So we're looking at how do you currently acquire customers, how do we go find more of those people, and then systematize and automate that process. And then simultaneously, we're talking about trying some different innovations around when that sale is made or when a sale is not made. How do we take the friction out of the sale? You know, whether it's offer them a payment plan if they're on the fence and they can't quite afford it. How do we like automate all that and have a layaway process? How do we let them take it home and try it on their wall with a risk-free trial and all this stuff? Basically, just like removing the bottlenecks out of the sales process while automating all this.
Because artists aren't salesmen.
What's that?
Because artists aren't salesmen.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
you're taking over the piece that they don't want to do, right? What they want to do is create the art, and they don't want to do the sales, they don't want to do the marketing. They have to do that, but it's not what they want to do.
Correct.
So if you take that piece and they can just focus on what they want to do and create the art, they're going to be happy.
Correct. Correct. And that was a big switch from, hey, we're going to do a seminar and teach you how to do all this stuff. They just feel like, whoa, like I'm choking on social media, and that's not even working right
I
now.
don't want to waste my time.
It would be like you telling me I'm gonna teach you how to blow glass.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that's not it's
just-
this is
I wanna buy
equally as
it.
foreign to them
Yeah.
as me learning how to blow glass.
Correct.
So you started, after collecting all the data that gives you a clear kind of direction, or you started to figure out how you're going to scale it?
Yeah, so the emphasis up to this point has been not push a solution, try to understand the problem, make sure that we've got something here, right? And rounding out our cohort at the end of this month, or at the end of this weekend, we want to have the 4 people identified. We're going to do the 4 non-competitive, the glass blower, photographer, painter, and jeweler. We've got 2 of those people identified. Awesome. Like, I know we're going to kill it for them. We want to get the other 2 and have we'll be good if there's even just those 2 people, it'll still be doable. But ideally, we'd like to have a small 4-person group. Then all October, the emphasis shifts to get a result for these people. And it's going to take us a while. It's probably going to be a few months of building the right stuff, learning each one of their businesses, trying this thing with superimposing the artwork if that's the direction that we're going to take it. For the jeweler and for the glass blower, we've actually got some software that lets us do like the opposite of a panorama. It's an inward facing, so it lets you pan around the piece and like take a ring and look at it from all angles. So like some really cool stuff. But at the end of the day, like to me, the meat and potatoes is the follow-up here and just having bulletproof follow-up processes, and then also the traffic acquisition strategies that we have for getting people in the funnel. And then those answering basically these questions, right? These are the ones that we're fixated on right now.
So should I assume for like mass email marketing campaigns, like MailChimp is one you use?
It depends. So I've used literally Constant Contact, Verbal Response, MailChimp, Hypermail, Infusionsoft, ActiveCampaign, SendGrid as a deliverability provider. I've used like every system out there.
I assume based on the shirt.
Oh yeah, this is just because it's a comfy shirt. But yeah, no, MailChimp is good. I like it. It's intuitive. They've recently added some automation features to it. We haven't pushed any mail through ActiveCampaign. We're going to treat that as a CRM for people that are already engaged with us. So we'll have them opt in to be in that one. So yeah, I would say MailChimp is a first like cold blast. Great, use it. You may get throttled. There's some systems that are more tolerant than others of sending to a cold list. Hypermail is one that's just pretty like I don't know what you call it, like scandal or anything. They'll send to just about anyone. But yeah. So anyways, all right. Well, we'll just close. Like again, if you guys haven't done Steve Blank's course, this is free on Udacity. Highly recommend it. He's the godfather of all this stuff. This is a good list of people to follow. Obviously, Steve Blank, Tristan Cromer, Tricro, up in San Francisco. He manages the Federation, or the Lean Startup Circle Federation, I think it's called. I run the one from Phoenix, although I probably have to hand it over now that I no longer live here. And then Patrick Blaskovich, this guy's actually out in Newport. I went paddleboarding with him the other day. He's a really good guy. He wrote the Lean Entrepreneur, he wrote the Entrepreneur's Guide to Customer Development, which is essentially the cliff notes to Steve Blank's book. But he's a super good guy to follow and all this stuff. And then I'm blogging on Grid 7. We'll probably put this presentation up there, and there's some other ones. Lean Startup Circle Phoenix may not be, it's pretty well defunct at this point, but if, you know, I'm gonna hand it over to someone, so maybe they'll revive it, but that would be a local resource at some point, so. Cool. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is I'll give you guys links and my email and all that, and just feel free, I'm around, or I'm out there, but I'll be around on email. So, cool.
Set up a paddle boarding appointment next week.
Yeah, that's right. Cool.
Sean, thank you for,
Yeah.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Best
Love that
place.
help was.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
wish it would've been.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
The question would be,
Just really focused on.
when you're targeting the different artists, so if you only have one painter on there,
Do we have managers?
that you're gonna be working with
It doesn't-
initially,
Yeah.
how does that
Oh,
scale?
it's just.
Yeah.
So basically, they're not commodities, right?
Yeah, so the idea is to productize whatever the set of stuff that we create.
Yeah.
Because like, he asked the question, what is your product? What are you guys actually
Right,
doing?
right.
The beauty of this model is,
And you're
it
very
doesn't matter.
well-organized.
It's whatever creates the result, that is our product. We don't have to advertise it as that, we're just commission only. Trust us, we're gonna do a bunch of stuff and make you guys more money.
Right.
And then the set of stuff that emerges from that hopefully can then be like systematized or productized, or at least behind the scenes we can give it to a VA and say, go do these XYZ things.
Yeah, just run through it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And what's cool also, working with the 4, we're gonna only do one group through this time, but that can be, if that works, then we'll just do like a Monday group and a Wednesday group and a Friday group, and
Yeah.
we'll be able to run multiple simultaneously.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just especially, like, have you seen any like more nuanced levels of, I guess, like different silos of like painters? Like you have like modern artists, or you have that are doing different style of art, and like do they ever say, oh, I'm not that type of artist. I don't do watercolor. No, I only do oil. Type of.
So in what capacity? You mean like not feeling competitive because they're doing different types
Yeah.
of medium? We haven't got that granular yet. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some of them will feel, no, I don't want you to work with another painter if you're working with me, and then some others will be like, I could care less. Like, this is my style. It appeals to a totally different clientele. The lady that we are working with, what we like about her is she very much knows her market. It's like she does kind of Americana, like Midwest scenes with like trucks and horses and stuff.
Yeah.
And so she knows her market is like Texas, Oklahoma, you know, Midwest area.
This is where I'm good.
Yeah,
That's
this
my
is-
customer
this is what I do.
segment.
That's who buys from me.
Yeah.
So yeah, she knows it, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that for like earlier stage artists that don't maybe know that, that's gonna be,
Yeah.
that'll be a challenge for them to figure out their personal customer
But
segment.
maybe that's part of what we lead them through, right? Like
the customer discovery piece of it, yeah.
well, I'm going through like Simon Sinek's Why University. Courtney actually helped me with it. But just going through this process of like asking yourself questions and like digging in on what you're good at and where you
Yeah.
fit and all that. And like, I would love to incorporate some kind of aspect of that into our process. This is just what we help artists figure out.
Yeah, what are you truly passionate about?
Yep.
That's what, it's like right now, all the ventures are gonna be meeting with Paul Goff, part of like the entrepreneur within it, the kind of softer skills, the less like, okay, leave the business, decide, what are you passionate about? It's the
Yeah.
exact thing, so.
Totally.
Really missing.
We just like, what I noticed is like both Dave and I felt this way in meeting with these people. Each meeting, even if they were like crazy, one lady, let's show you this. This was our note for this lady. Our takeaways on this girl? Gosh, shit, crazy. That was the one. We didn't even write anything because we're like, no, we're not. We can't possibly work with Ellie. But like even on the crazy ones, it's still like our heart goes out to them.
Yeah.
We can see that they really love their craft and they want to be successful at it. And they just don't know what they're doing on the market.
Yeah.
So
Also because they've been focused in on like the design part, which in itself is like a whole other area, like the art behind it that, like, being from the business world, you're just like,
they went and created a product without figuring out the marketing
Yeah.
around it. You know, so it's the mistake that we all make.
yeah. Cool. So definitely would love to pick your brain on setting up a recruitment, lifecycle style marketing campaign for Seagull.
there's a lot of opportunity to do that for you guys. And the other thing, I'm gonna turn off the camera. The other thing is leveraging the event, like the demo day events. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot, because that's just such